Well, g'day everybody and welcome back to my workshop. Right, so we've got all the gubbins on the bench, with the exception of this. This is just a, for those that are interested, it's a feed pump for a crossflow filter for wine. I'm just waiting for some parts for that, so we won't disturb it. But I've got the forks here, and I've got the triple clamp as well. I think I might do this first, so we'll try and get these bearings off. And sadly, it's not just easy. You can't just put a bloody bearing splitter underneath it because they've got all the steering stop nonsense here on the bottom yoke. So we're going to have to get creative. Let's give it a go. Alright, so I've moved the suspension bits down the bench, and that leaves us just with this piece. Now, of course the top bearing is simple, just slides off. However, the bottom bearing will not just slide off. Now, like I said before, I can't get a bearing splitter. Let me get a bearing splitter and show you what that is. One of these puppies. You can't just get it in underneath here. Because of all this nonsense here. So, but I think I could probably get it underneath the top lip on the inner race. So I'm going to try and, we'll just try and chop all this bit out and see if we can get the bearing splitter in there. Alright, I'll try and just cut it off basically. Because while I am better equipped here at work than I am at home, I still don't have an oxy torch. Haven't had a great need for one here, to be honest. I did get a new welder. I took my welder home, and I bought a new Unimig. A new Unimig TIG MMA welder, and it's AC/DC with pulse, so I can weld aluminium and all the rest of it. So, all right. So now, hopefully, we've got enough room. We can put the bearing splitter on. And pick up that top edge, and we've just got enough room. Yes. So we picked up that top lip, so I should be able to put that in the press now and try and squeeze him out. Okay, so he's kind of in there. It's a little bit dodgy because of the way it has to sit up on the bolts, but we'll hoping there won't be too much resistance there. Yeah, there he is. Alright, so that worked okay. Right. Alright, so I'll just give this a quick wash now and we'll fit the new bearing. Alright, so we have it cleaned up, but typically we've got some issues that we have to address. One is somebody has smashed off the bottom race at some stage with something very, very like a chisel or a screwdriver or something like that. So I'm going to have to just give that a quick touch up with a file. The other thing, of course, is the wood screw. Looks like they've got a sheared off bolt and they've just drilled it out and put a screw in it. So let's drill that out now and put a helicoil in it. Just taking it easy. Make sure I get the depth right. That'll be enough. Triflex. Right, we now have a nice clean thread in there that is the right size for our helicoil, and this is in here. Make sure that the last thread is actually down and engaged, like so. And you turn that so it's off the tang and snap the tang off. And that's it there. Now we have a nice new thread in here. And it can accept an M6 bolt. Lovely, job done. Now the other thing was to actually I don't need to do that because it's already been done. Somebody's already filed it. It's got a few scars. So let's grab our kit from All Balls Racing and see what we got in here. 1, 2 bearings, 2 seals. So we also had this washer on the bottom. Left my bearing grease gun at home. So I'm going to use the one here, which means that I'm going to have to pack both bearings with the same grease because I don't want to have it run into any incompatibility issues, which can happen sometimes with grease. Right, first thing to go on is the seal on the bottom. So he'll just sit on there thusly. Then we want the lower bearing. and we'll pack him full of grease from my grease gun here at work. Now, I've been struggling at home in the garage with light, and there's been a few people comment, including on Patreon. Adam Smith mentioned in the last video that I did, which is the caliper one. Of course, they all go to Patreon before they're released on YouTube, so those guys get to see them before the general public. And he mentioned that, you know, it was difficult to see where the seals were going in the calipers, etc. And of course, it was, and they're all black, and I'm wearing black, so it all sort of disappears into the background. And my lights, I struggle trying to get lighting to work. I think I need to invest in one of those lithium battery powered lights that the guys like on Mighty Car Mods and Skid Factory and Matt are using at the workshop. One of those Cryobi ones or something a bit better. All right, it's enough. All right, so we're going to press him on now. Why press him and not bash him? Brunelling, in short. Well, you're not going to... What is Brunelling, you may ask? That is, think about Brunel and the hardness scale. What happens is when you hit a bearing with a blow, it can shock and put very tiny dints in the surface of the race or flatten the roller slightly, and that will begin premature wear. So it's better to put a constant force and just press it together. It doesn't, you've got enough grease in that in there, it's likely not to do any damage. What you will always want to try and avoid is hitting the cage, or if it's a ball race, like a ball bearing, you don't want to hit the outer race when you're trying to push it onto a shaft. You just want to try and hit the inner race. But because we've got to press at our disposal, we'll press it together. Right, so hopefully you can see this okay. What I'm going to do is use the old bearing race as to press down on the other race. A bit of pipe that I've prepared earlier. And we may have to drop the press down one. There we go. Hopefully we'll have enough stroke. Right. Want to make sure that we can keep turning the race while it's being pressed in. There's no load on that at all, so it's all good. And we're home. Right. And of course that leaves the inner race from the other bearing still on there. Now it's only just on there. So we should be able to just give it a light tap, and away it comes. There's our bottom bearing in situ. So we'll leave this one in the packet for now. Wrap this back up. Put all that back in the box, and I'll wrap this in plastic. But that's essentially ready to fit back on the bike. So we'll turn our attention now to the forks. Rightio, forks. Now, I mentioned this yesterday. The tops of these don't look right to me. Every microfiche I've seen and every drawing I've seen of the GS1000 forks, they have an air valve on the top, like the XS1100. And of course that allows you to put some air pressure in there, which helps to keep the oil from foaming. These don't, but they do appear to have, see if we can see, they do appear to have like a preload screw down in there. So I'm not 100% sure what these things are, but we're going to find out. I'm going to have a bit of a sticky beak in there. See what this screw's all about. It is some sort of preload. 1, 2, 3, yeah, it clicks down. It's like a preload. I've backed that right off now. Now, let's very carefully see if we can I need to get a little bit more purchase on that thing, because you want to be careful not to squash the jolly tube, but let's try a little bit of impact. All right, that worked all right. It's popped out. The O-ring was obviously holding it back. I don't have an O-ring. I didn't even think of that. Right, let's tip the oil out. Pop him back in here. I'll just tip it in this bucket for now. I can go and put in the oil disposal drum then. I don't know if you can see that. Hang on. What oil? There's no oil. All right, let's just check whether these are... I just wanted to make sure these are a progressive spring, so they're tighter wound here than they are here, as you can see, and so they're a progressive rate, and the tightly wound section went to the bottom of the fork. Yep, definitely no oil in there. All right, let's put him in the vise. See See how hard these dust seals are to get off. Not very. Yuck. It's like there's still some oil in there, but anyway, let's see if we can get that stanchion tube out. Now these things, I think, are similar to the XS1100 in that we've got a socket-headed cap screw in the base here that holds the dampener piston, and once we release that, this tube should probably come out through the seal. That's what I'm hoping. And that was in there. It would have been Loctited in. It would have been Loctited in too, no doubt. Now hopefully. So this is your dampener that you can hear there. So that's your dampener there. That will come out the bottom like so. And there's our stanchion tube. Now these have a hex in them. Or hex, it's a double hex that allows you to put something down through the bottom to hold that when you go to screw that guy back in again at the bottom. So, very similar to the XS1100s. There's a dampener piston and spring at the bottom and a compression spring at the top, and there's supposed to be oil in there. That goes on the end of the dampener as well. So that guy goes on there. Right, this is the bit we're interested in. There should be a retaining ring in there, and there is. Little spring clip. Pretty rusty. That'll be it. Anything in there? No. Right, so we can wash that up. Well, I want to have a bit better look at this, at the stanchion tube. I can see that it's reasonably good. Where the seals run, it's okay. Above that, we've got some corrosion. Now that is usually caused by stone chips, you know, rocks glancing off the chrome and chipping it. Then it gets a bit of moisture in there and it starts to flake. We can clean that up a bit, but what I'm most interested in is whether or not they're bent. We want to be sure that we haven't had any damage to the front of them. So to do that, I've just got a couple of little V-blocks here. If you were an apprentice in Australia in the 80s, you would have made a set of these if you're a fitter and turner. Still got mine. It's a bit scratchy where the where the bit scratchy where it's got those damaged bits. Damaged, I mean, you know what I mean. Dial indicator. Alright, so we've got the Staunton tube rigged up in between the two V blocks. Each one of the increments on there is 0.01 of a millimetre. One revolution is 1 millimetre. Bit of a bend. So we're somewhere around 0.7 of a millimetre out of parallel. Well, it's bent about 0.7 of a millimetre, a little bit over half a millimetre and half a millimetre. And half a millimetre is about 12.5 thou. So I'm not too worried about that. That's good enough. All right, so we've got some bits that we need that I don't have. Essentially, that wire clip that retains the spring, I want to get a new one. I'm not happy with them. They're a bit rusty and horrible. Still waiting for the dust seals. So what I'm going to do now is I'll pack it up. I'm going to leave the forks here at work so that when the parts come in, then I've got it here and I can just do it. One of the other things worth noting, I said when we disassembled it that we had odd size bolts on here. These are right, these are studs. The other ones has got bolts like the studs have been removed. So do I address it? I don't know. Is it worth it? I don't know. But anyway, in the meantime, I'll get on the gaggler and I will order some more parts for these forks and get some fork oil, and then the next time we come back I'll have them all cleaned up, ready to go back together again, and we'll do the reassembly. But until then, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment, and I'll catch you next time on Andy's Motorcycle Obsessions. Bye for now.